Hello, everyone. All of you can hear me? Just write yes if you can hear me in the chat box. Okay, is it better now? Is it better now? Smita, is it better for you? All right. I'm just waiting for 2 to 3 minutes more because attendees are just joining in here. So let's wait for 2 or 3 minutes more. Okay, I have launched a poll right now just to select your domain. I should get to know from which domain you people are belonging. Hi everyone. Please cooperate for 5 to 10 minutes more because more scholars are joining in now. So we are waiting for them. Just 5 to 10 minutes more. After that, we will start with the session. Hi Anita, you have mentioned one question in the chat box that will be the recording clip to be provided to the paid participants. So yeah, we will be upload this video, this recording on our YouTube channel, and from there you can see this. Hello. Uh, can all of you see my screen, the PPT screen which I have shared? All of you can see this? Just write yes in the chat box if you can see the screen. And my voice is also audible to all of you or not. Okay, this is audible. All right. So I'm Shweta, your presenter for the day. Today, we are going to discuss about thesis writing, some basic tips and tricks which you have to follow while writing the thesis. Basically, thesis and dissertation are two similar words, and most of the people also interchange these words as well. But the process of writing these two, thesis and dissertation, would remain same. Generally, thesis is the most difficult and the most lengthiest piece of work which a scholar do. And to make it little simpler, most of the universities and colleges, what they do is they provide you with a specific guidance which you have to follow while writing your thesis or maybe a dissertation. But still, we have noticed that many of the scholars, they still face some issues while writing the thesis and the dissertations. So here today we are going to discuss about some basic tips and tricks, a very quick one, so that you can follow it and you can write a good thesis for your PhD degree. So basically we are going to cover about like why introduction chapter is required to write at the end. Like once you have done with all your chapters, then you should start writing introduction. But why? Then what are the different approaches you should follow for writing the literature review chapter? After that, how you have to select references for your thesis, what are the sources from for selecting the references, and from where you can get the reliable references. The next thing which we are going to cover is about the optimum length of your thesis. Many scholars, they do not know that what length they should follow. It should be too lengthy, it should not be too small. So what is the optimum length for it? Then, what are the authentical and reliable tools for plagiarism check? I hope all of you know that plagiarism is very important in thesis work. So, what are the authentic and reliable tools for that? And lastly, what things your committee or your supervisor look for in your thesis? So I'm quickly running a poll here. I just wanted to understand from you that do you think that uh, introduction should be written at the end, or maybe it can be written in the beginning also? So I've run a poll here. All of you can reply in that. Yes, it is true. Like Jyoti has written in the chat box, the location of the chapter is obviously we are going to attach introduction chapter in the beginning. However, while while writing the chapter, it should be written at the end of the chapter. So once you are done with the introduction chapter, okay, so almost 61% of people they agree with this statement that introduction chapter should be written at the end. Now I will tell you the reasons why we focus on writing introduction chapter at the end. I'm just sharing my screen again for the PPT part. I hope everyone can see my screen. Okay, so the basic purpose of writing introduction chapter is you have to establish your research territory. Research territory basically means you have to set the boundaries for your entire thesis work. So when we are going to write introduction chapter, we are setting that okay, this is the background of my research, this is the aims and objectives of my research, and the background, basically when we talk about background, we can find that background once we are done with the literature review section of our thesis. So initially I generally suggest to go for literature review chapter so that you get a better understanding of your topic, and then you can set your boundaries for the topic that okay, I am going to cover only this much in my thesis, because obviously it is a time constraint factor you have for your thesis. You cannot have all the things covered in the thesis part. So you can set your boundaries well once you have already done the literature review. The second thing, the purpose of introduction is it establishes and justifies your niche. Niche again means that why you are going to do a specific research, you can have a very well justified reasons for it. So once you are done with the literature review section, you again know that okay, I have to cover only this much, and you can better answer your research gap part. You can better frame research questions for your thesis once you are done with the literature review. And the last purpose of introduction is it explains the significance of your research. Again, what are the aims and objectives of your research, how you are going to conduct it, basically means the research methodology, and what output you are going to find out from the thesis. That also you have to write in the introduction, but in a very short way. So once you are already done with all those things, it becomes easier for you to write that in the introduction chapter. But yes, some of the scholars I've seen in the chat box, they have written that introduction chapter should be attached earlier. It is the first chapter of our thesis, but it is better you develop it at the end. Also, we all know that introduction chapter basically covers these four things, like what your thesis is all about, why it is important, how it was conducted, and how it is laid out. So if we see all the answers for these questions we get from the later chapters. Let's say literature review chapters says us that why it is important, research methodology chapter tell us that how we are going to conduct a research, and discussion conclusion chapter tells us that okay, the research which we have conducted, now what is the output of that, what is the final result we have received. So as a conclusion, it is always better if you go for the introduction chapter at the end of your thesis. Once you are done with all the chapters writing, all the results are with you, then you can simply write introduction chapter. So if you have any questions related to this point regarding this introduction chapter, you can share with me on chat box. I'm going to reply. I'll take one by one questions and I'll reply you. Any questions related to this introduction part, you can write in the chat box. or if there is no question, you just write clear so that I'll move to the next heading, next topic. Okay, so the next topic, what we are going to discuss now, we'll move to the second chapter, which is your literature review chapter. So I again want to ask one question from you, that is literature review and annotated bibliography is same or it is different? So I'm again running a third poll, which is regarding this. Okay, I have again started a poll which is regarding LR and annotated bibliography. Okay, I'm in between taking some questions also, which I have in the chat box. Pratibha, I'll explain the difference between LR and annotated bibliography once this poll ends. Okay, so people who have joined in late, we have covered the introduction part as of now. We have discussed that why introduction chapter is required to be developed once your thesis ends, once your all the chapters are done. So basically, whatever the information, I'm just explaining it in short. Whatever the information you are going to write in the introduction chapter, that we get from the later chapters like literature review, research methodology, data part, analysis part. So it is better that once you have all the information, you just put it in the introduction chapter and you can finalize it. One question I've seen regarding the length of the introduction chapter, which depends on the total length, whatever you are covering for your entire thesis. So I'll come to that question later on once we discuss about the optimum length for a thesis. There I'll tell you that how you can divide your chapters into like how you can divide the length of your thesis into various chapters. Basically introduction, okay, a lot of questions are there that what introduction chapter should cover. So basically it covers regarding your research background, aims and objectives. Then there is a problem statement. After that it covers your aims and objectives, how you are going to conduct a research, a short methodology about your next plan. then the significance of your research, and lastly, the chapterization scheme for the other chapters. So if you see, chapterization scheme is always mentioned in introduction chapter, like your second chapter would be literature review, your third chapter would be research methodology. So these things are basically covered in literature review. Rishika, it depends that whether you are writing introduction chapter after literature review, or you are writing once you are also done with the RM chapter and discussion conclusion chapter. So it is up to you. We are not saying that you have to write introduction chapter at the end, but we suggest for writing that chapter at the end, because you have all the information. You can you can write it better once you have all the information already researched, and you have all the references with you. Jasmine, LR is literature review. Okay, so I'm again starting with the PPT for the literature review. I hope all attendees have joined now. Okay, so basically, literature review is not same as annotated bibliography. In annotated bibliography, we are going to prepare a table. So basically, it's a tabular view wherein whatever references you are reviewing, you are just writing that in a tabular format. Let's say a table says name of the author, so you pick the name of the author from the reference and you are going to write it in the table. Then let's say the second column says that you have to write about the aims and objectives of the paper, so again you are taking that from the paper and putting that into a table. So likewise, we have different column heads for annotated bibliography, and whatever the head is there, we are just going to pick the details from the from the reference paper, whichever we are taking, and putting it into a table. Whereas on the other side, literature review is something that we are reviewing the entire paper, and then what we feel as a summary of that paper, we are going to write it. Now, there are three approaches in which we can write LR chapter. First approach is essay approach. The second one is author wise approach, and the third approach is cohort wise approach. Essay approach is basically you have read, let's say, five papers or maybe 10 papers, and whatever you have understood from that, you're just writing a summary of all the papers. That is a essay approach. The second approach says that one by one you are going to cite a author, let's say first author, and whatever you have understood from that paper, you are just writing it. Next paragraph will be for the second author, third paragraph will be for the third author, and third approach is cohort wise approach, wherein a group of people, what they have said on a specific topic, that you are taking and writing it. I will show you a sample for each of the approach. I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, can you see this PDF now? Okay. So this is basically a literature review chapter. I will show you. Can you see this? This paragraph. This is showing a specific author, And when we read the next paragraph, this is talking about the separate author. So author wise, we are going to divide the paragraphs. What this person has said, we have summarized it in one paragraph, and what the next author has said, that we have summarized in one paragraph. So author wise, we are going ahead with the references part. So you can see in the entire document, the approach would remain same. Let's say if you're picking up the author-wise approach for the entire chapter, entire literature review, that would remain same. Okay, this is a second document which I have opened now. This is basically a essay approach, or you can say sometimes we have used a cohort wise approach also. So if a paragraph is talking about one aspect, we are going to cover it under cohort wise approach. It could be author wise approach also sometimes. You can see this again, we have followed a author wise approach here, because this becomes very easy for supervisor, for your guide also, to check like how many references you have used. Let's say if you have used 10 references for an example, so what each author have told you, so that you can mention here. But you can see we have created a separate heading here which talks about existing studies. So what all studies they have talked about the topic, we have all written it in one way. This is about cohort approach. I'm just scrolling it down so that you can see how we have cited the different authors here. Okay, so a lot of people are asking to repeat the cohort wise approach. Okay, I'm again sharing the report with you. Okay, so cohort wise means group wise. Whenever we are writing a literature review, a specific group of people have said something on a particular topic. That is what we are going to write in a paragraph format. So let's say two people or five people have said something about GIS. So I am going to write all whatever they have said. Let's say five people have said something, so I'm going to cite all five people together in a paragraph. That is what we generally follow for cohort wise approach. For that, the existing studies, this you can see all the authors, like in one paragraph we have cited two authors here. Okay, so all authors, what they have said about a common topic, that is what we are referring as a cohort wise approach here. It is also true that we are going to follow a chronological order for writing LR chapter, but again there is no fixed rule for writing it, because some universities are also asking for author wise approach, some universities are asking for chronological order. So it depends on university to university, but basically whatever we have seen as a trend here, because we are also working for a lot of scholars, so author wise approach till now has been the best approach, because it clearly defines that okay, you have used 100 references or 150 references, and what each author have told about a specific topic. So I personally suggest you to go for author wise approach. But let's say if your university is suggesting for some other approaches, that also you can follow. Ankita, combination of all the approaches is generally not suggestible, but still you can use any two approaches. Let's say author wise approach also you are using, but at the end of literature review chapter, once you have to summarize that what you have written in the entire chapter, that you can summarize maybe using a cohort approach in that case. Okay, a lot of questions are related to this only, which I have answered. Is there any other question? Okay, so again, a lot of people are asking for annotated bibliography template and a clear difference between annotated bibliography and the literature review. So I'm just going to share the annotated bibliography now. Okay, can you see my screen now? I have shared an Excel sheet. Can you see? Okay, just a minute. Is it visible now? Is it visible now? The screen is visible, I think. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now you can see the annotated bibliography, as I mentioned before, that this is done in a tabular format. So you can see we have given some heads as column heads: author and the country, objectives, then design methodology, key variables and remarks, outcomes of the study, paper title. So basically this depends like which heads you want to create for your project, for your research. This is not fixed. Some people also go for research gap. Some people also go for what techniques, what test a person has used in the statistical part, what is the limitation of each of the reference paper. So the column heads are not fixed. You can take as many as things as possible from your end, but the way of doing annotated bibliography would remain same. You can see we have referred approximately 50 papers here. So summary, uh, basically not the summary, all the points what is mentioned here we have picked from the papers and written it here. Whereas in literature review, we are not maintaining any table there. There is no fixed format of doing a literature review. Whatever I am studying, let's say in this first paper, in the entire paper, the summary I'm writing it in a literature review. I'm not mentioning about the main objectives, the methodology, these are the variables, these are the outcomes. So I'm not going to write in a very detailed format, writing all the things in pointers, but I'll just write the summary of the entire paper in literature review. Whereas if you want to see that, okay, what is the objective for that particular paper, you can just open this sheet and you can see, okay, for this paper, this is the objective, this is the methodology, these are the variables that person has used. I hope this is the difference between literature review and annotated is clear now. Just type yes if you are clear with this, and we shall move to next topic now. Or if there is any question, you can ask me. Okay, again, few questions I've seen in between regarding the length of the literature review chapter. So again, when we talk about the total length of the chapter, we are going to cover it there. Essay approach is basically you have read 10 papers and you are just writing it down, whatever you have understood from that paper. Uh, like in a normal language, when we say we are writing essay, so whatever we understood about a topic, we are just writing it. So that is a very basic approach and generally not suggestible for a PhD level scholar. So you should always go for author wise approach. In case if your university demands for chronological order, go for that. If there is no order suggested by your university, then it's better you go for author wise. Yes, some universities, some supervisors are also asking to add annotated bibliography in literature review chapter. So mostly people do is the main chapter they are writing in a paragraph format, and side by side they are also maintaining this annotated bibliography, which if the length of your thesis is very less and you have used, let's say, 50 papers, so you can also attach in your literature review chapter. But if not, you are running short of your length for the thesis, so you can also attach that annotated bibliography in the annexures. I'm sorry if I'm not able to take all the questions, because there are so many questions, and all like if I see all 5-10 questions related to a same topic, that I am taking. If still you feel that your question is not being answered, you can ask in a separate question and answer area, where the team will reply to your question. Okay, so I hope all of you are clear. I'm moving to the next part of the presentation. Now, how we have talked about literature review. Now, how you have to select references for thesis writing. So there are three reliable sources for reference search. The first one is Google Scholar. You can find the references from there. The second one is Sci-Hub, wherein if you want to use any close-ended, close-access journals, and you want to have papers from there, so from Sci-Hub you can download all the papers. You just have to mention your DOI number or maybe the URL of that paper, whatever you are referring, and you just copy paste in Sci-Hub website and you can have the complete paper. The third source is if you are very specific about a journal, let's say you have to use from you have a particular journal from where you have to take all the references, so you can directly go to that journal's website and have the access of all the papers. Still, if you feel that some papers are close accessed and you do not want to even pay for that subscription amount, so again, you can come back to Sci-Hub and copy paste the URL or DOI of that particular reference and have the paper download from there. But there are few things which you need to avoid while taking the references for thesis writing. The first one is you need not to take any reference from newspapers or any online articles that are not considered good for a thesis writing. The second thing is you do not have to consider books. Let's say if you're belonging to a literature domain wherein the study is all about books, there you can take, but for a normal management study, for technical studies, for law related studies, medical studies, wherein the book usage of book is very less, you can use only 10% of the books and not more than that. After that, Wikipedia cannot be used for using the references. You cannot cite Wikipedia, and always try not to go beyond 5 years of reference. Let's say we are doing a study in 2020, so your references should be from 2015 onwards. Don't go back from 2015, because then it will be considered as old references and it will hamper the quality of your uh, research. The next topic is how you have to decide the optimum length of the thesis. So generally all the universities, they focus on quality of your thesis and not on the quantity part. So basically, if the thesis is short, obviously it brings out more quality, and if the thesis is lengthier, there may be a chance that your quality is compromised there. So the minimum length of thesis which we generally suggest is around 100 pages, which excludes your references. And if in word count, I will say it comes nearly about 25,000 words. So this is the minimum length for a thesis for a PhD level. For dissertation, if you are in masters, so you can go, I think, for 40 or 50 pages also, depending upon the length which is prescribed from your university. But for PhD, 100 pages is minimum length. Now, some universities, they do not accept 100 pages also. So there is a next normal length or a medium length for a thesis is around 150 to 180 pages. Maximum you can go for 100. So 150 to 100, 150 to 200 is the normal length of the thesis, which covers almost around 40,000 words of the content. And this also excludes references. The maximum length, because some universities are also asking for 300 pages, 350 pages, even 400 pages of thesis. So we generally do not suggest for going for such a lengthier thesis. Maximum, if you want to go, you can go for 250 pages of thesis, which covers approximately around 65,000 words. Now, all the lengths which I have specified is excluding the references. Now, if you add the references, approximately 50 references would be there for, sorry, 50 pages can be added to the length specified. And let's say if you're targeting for 100 pages of thesis, it will automatically become around 150 or 175 after adding all your references pages. All the initial pages are also there, like TOC is there, acknowledgements are there, then certificate is there, list of tables, list of figures, diagrams. Those initial pages are also there. So once you compile everything, this will automatically, whatever the length you are specifying for your main body, main content, all the 4 chapters, you can add approximately around 50 to 75 to 100 pages also if you're going for a maximum length there. So it automatically increases your length. So go for a shorter one. We generally suggest for minimum length, but let's say if your university is very specific on the length part, again go for a minimum which is possible. Now, once you are done with the writing, again, there is a very important thing which is considered in PhD researches, which is your plagiarism. So there should be no plagiarism in your work, or a minimal plagiarism is accepted in every university. Now, how you have to check that whether whatever you have written is plagiarized or not plagiarized? There are few softwares which are authentic also, and they are very much reliable also. So you can always go for Turnitin. Turnitin is a university version and WriteCheck is the commercial version for Turnitin. So Turnitin or WriteCheck you can use, and the second software is Urkun. Any software which is freely available on internet, let's say even if it is Grammarly or many softwares are there which are freely available, even the paid ones also apart from these two, they do web submissions. They generally do web submissions, so people, scholars, once they have submitted, they are after that they are coming back that their report is showing 100%. So what happens is all these free softwares or even the paid softwares also, when you check your report, when you check your thesis for the first time, they usually submit the document in the software. Now again, once you check in your university panel, or maybe you get this report from Turnitin or Urkun, since the report was already submitted, now it will show 100% plagiarized. So it becomes a very difficult situation for a scholar to justify that the report is not 100% plagiarized, it's original, but you cannot justify that. So please don't go for free softwares here. Go only for Turnitin or for Urkund. The next part is, what things does your committee or supervisor look for in your thesis? So there are some quick checks what you can do before presenting your thesis or sharing your thesis with your supervisor or for your committee members, that the structure of your thesis should be correct. All the chapters should be in a proper format. Let's say first chapter is introduction, then second should come as literature review, third is research methodology, fourth is data analysis, and fifth is discussion conclusion. So the structure of thesis should be correct. All chapters should have subheadings. Then the second point is, check the logical flow. All the chapters what you have written should be in a logical flow. It should not be like the first paragraph is talking about something and the second paragraph is totally different from it. So it should be in a flow. Third point is, there should be no repetition, even for the topic and for the authors also. Many a times when people go for a lengthier thesis for approximately 200 or 250 pages of thesis, they tend to do this thing that whatever one author has said, they are writing that in introduction also, and the same thing they are writing back again in the literature review chapter also. So that should not be there. There should be no repetition. And also people sometimes do that, they write aims and objectives in the introduction chapter also, and again in aims and objectives are written in the literature review chapter also. So once you are going to your supervisor for a final check, just keep a note of these things, that there should be no repetition even for the content, for the author, for the reference as well. Then just quickly check the grammar and syntax errors, because that leaves a very bad impression, that you are writing a thesis but small grammar mistakes are there, syntax errors are there. So there are softwares for it. Obviously, when I think all of us are working on MS Word, or even if you're working on Google Document, so there is a default grammar check option in MS Word. If let's say you are not satisfied with that, there is a software called Grammarly which is available freely on internet. So you can just download it, add the plugin, and you can run it. So it will tell you basic grammar and syntax errors, and after that plagiarism should not be there. So you should always have a flag report with you, that whatever your university demands, even if it is less than 5%, 10%, or 15%, this should be there with you, so that if your guide or supervisor asks for the plagiarism report, you can show that. So these are some basic tips which which you can follow, and you will see a lot of difference you will notice once you follow these steps, because lot of rejections, we call it as desk rejections, that your thesis or maybe papers are also getting rejected due to these reasons. So once you are done with all these points, all these things are correct in your thesis or maybe in your paper, so there are very less rejections you will face. Secondly, the feedback which you will receive will only be for the content part, which obviously your guide will tell you. So thank you so much. I'm coming back to the chat box, and you can ask me questions there if anything you want to repeat, or you have some questions regarding this. Okay, Prakash is asking that do we need to write methodology for each result chapter? So there is one research methodology chapter which we generally develop. In that chapter, we are going to write, let's say, what is the research design we are following, what research approaches we are following, how we are collecting data, what sampling technique we are using, what statistical software we are using. Let's say if you belong to a management domain and you are using SPSS, so what kind of test you are applying from SPSS, that also you can write in the research methodology chapter. For each result chapter, once we write the data analysis, sometimes we write that okay, first we have filtered the data, then we have checked the reliability, then we have did the descriptive statistics. So in that way you can write for your data analysis part specifically. Structure of thesis. Okay, a lot of people are asking for structure of thesis. Structure of thesis for management and all the management related domains would be: first chapter is introduction, second chapter is literature review, then third chapter is research methodology, fourth chapter is data analysis, and then fifth or sixth, like people are also going for 5 chapters, wherein fifth is discussion, conclusion, recommendations. Or if you want to split it into 5 and 6, then you can make 5 as result and discussions, and sixth chapter as conclusions and recommendations. Wherein if you are belonging to some technical background, some engineering background, so you just replace the fourth chapter from data analysis to implementation, software implementation. So whatever you are doing in a software implementation part, you can attach the results there. Okay, Harsha is saying we must use word of LaTeX to write thesis. So LaTeX is also a format you can, like people are using Word, people are also using LaTeX. So it totally depends on you if you are comfortable working on LaTeX also. So you can go for that. Also, if your university allows you for that, then you can go. But generally, people are like most of the scholars are not aware of LaTeX, how to use it. So in that case, if that is the case, I suggest you to avoid that and go for Word, MS Word. Okay, syntax errors are basically typing errors, what you get, some wrong spelling, some extra space, no space. So these are called syntax errors. Uh, this is a question from Asra Nasi, that is this style of thesis writing applicable for life sciences as well? Because the thesis I have read from my field are very different. So you can share the thesis with us, Asra. You can mail us that thesis sample, and we will explain on personally on call that which type of approach you should follow for it. Tapashri is asking, kindly suggest some sites to download good thesis. There is no specific site to download thesis because theses are generally not available online. You can have papers downloaded. You can go through the papers, and then you can refer it in your thesis. Okay, Srujan is asking that is it the same we follow for paper writing? So yes, we are going to follow the same thing for paper writing also. Again, it depends that whether you are going for a review paper or you are going for empirical or technical paper. But the process of writing literature review would remain same. Okay. Will the paid version of Grammarly be good to do plagiarism check? I will not suggest to go for paid version of Grammarly because again we have checked it a lot from Grammarly also. But every time if you check, every time if you run the plag check from that software, it will show you a different percentage. So which I do not suggest you to go for paid one. Also, if you go for paid version, it will show you some advanced level. Editing in your document which changes your complete sentence. So if you by default go with that particular editing, so somehow you will end up changing the complete meaning of your entire document. So we do not suggest you to go for the paid version of Grammarly. Use the free version, which will allow you to check the grammar and syntax errors, so that is enough. All right. So part wise minimum and maximum length. Okay, now let's say if you are taking 100 pages as your length for the complete thesis, you can go the maximum length from your total word count should be for the literature review chapter. You can approximately use around 30 to 40% of your entire length in literature review. Then the second lengthiest chapter would be your introduction chapter. So let's say if you are going for 40%, you can go for 30% in introduction chapter. Then the next chapter is research methodology, and last would be your introduction, this discussion and conclusion chapter. So lengthiest would be introduction, then a little lesser for sorry, the lengthier is literature review, a little lesser than introduction, then research methodology, and then the discussion conclusion. So this you can divide for your word count, the length for each of the chapter. Authenticate, Preeti is asking what about Authenticate Plag software. You can go for that, but sometimes again we have seen this the Plag report is not correct for with Authenticate also. Better go for Turnitin. Okay, I have not covered research methodology part because specifically there are no tips which you can follow for research methodology. Basically, you have to explain how you are going to conduct your research. That you need to explain in a research methodology chapter. So there are few fixed heads which we follow for research methodology. Let's say your research design, research approach, then which method you are taking, like is it a then is it a quantitative research or a qualitative research, how you are going to collect data, which is your sampling details, and then the analysis details. So it's a very clear format which is being followed for research methodology. Turnitin is not a free software. It's a paid software. Okay, so many scholars have asked to repeat the session. So we are going to share this recording with you on your email. We will share it so that you can go through this session again. Format and font of writing a thesis, it depends on your university. So generally all universities provide that guidance to you at the beginning, so that you have to follow for the font and format. How many number of references you have to follow in LR chapter, it basically depends that first of all what your guide has suggested you. Let's say normally around 80 to 100 is the minimum reference which you have to include in your literature review chapter. Okay, difference between discussion and conclusion is when we are writing discussion. So we are going to discuss about the results what we have received after doing the data analysis part. What we have discussed initially in literature review and how exactly we have received the results now. That is what we are going to discuss in the discussion chapter. Whereas a conclusion, like what is the ultimate conclusion of the complete research, that is what I'm going to write in my conclusion chapter. Yes, okay. A lot of people are again asking for certificates. So we are going to provide you the certificates, but it will take some time because we have to prepare all the certificates. So within next 7 days or 10 days, you will get the certificates on your email. For any domain, whatever the domain you belong to, be it medical, be it literature, be it any other domain, the process of writing literature review would remain same. You cannot use any articles. Okay, again there are questions regarding some articles which is being published. So you do not have to use articles, you can only use research papers for citations. Okay, so almost all the questions, all the related questions I have taken. If still some questions are pending, you can write down on our email ID. So we will reply you there. All right. Thank you for your time.